Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Faye Watt, and let's queer up the USA view. New report shows half of books banned in 2024 were about LGBTQ and Black. A new report from PEN America reveals that more than half of the books banned last school year, focused on people of color or LGBTQ plus individuals. The nonprofit group, which supports free expression in literature, released data showing that over 10,000 book removals occurred last year, affecting 4,218 titles. The analysis highlights that 36% of banned books featured people of color, and 25% included queer characters. Of these LGBTQ books, 28% had transgender or genderqueer characters. Books featuring disabled characters made up 10% of the banned titles. PEN America's Sabrina Baêta calls this targeted censorship a harmful assault on marginalized populations. She said, quote, "When we strip library shelves of books about particular groups, we defeat the purpose of a library," end quote. In 2024, the American Library Association recorded the highest number of book challenges ever. Last year, banned genres included realistic fiction, dystopian fiction, history, and biographies. PEN America found that marginalized identities often intersected in banned books. Over half of LGBTQ books also featured people of color. In Florida, the Department of Education removed books such as The Bluest and Slaughterhouse 5, claiming no books were banned. Critics argue that book bans harm students by restricting access to diverse perspectives. As more students identify as LGBTQ or people of color, these bans erase essential stories and experiences from classroom. And that's exactly it. LGBTQ plus folks and Black folks were so scary that they don't want you to learn about us. Okay, at all, so they want to...
They're probably in the same classroom. How do you explain that? How do you explain that to the kid?
How do you explain that to the kid that I'm like, hey, I want to learn about him, right? I want to learn about this person and this trans child that I go to school with every day. Sorry, we can't. There are none. You're a writer, how does this wash over you, Greg?
Well, part of me just thinks I would love to have one of my books banned because the attention is so great. And we are really lucky to have PEN America doing the essential work they do. And Ms. Baêta makes a trenchant point when she says, quote, "When we strip library shelves of books about particular groups, we defeat the purpose of a library," end quote. So well said. It's just, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
No. So at least there are still bookstores where smart parents, educated parents, informed parents can take their kids.
Yeah.
Plus, aren't there online libraries that are stepping up to fill in those blanks for kids where their schools are being banned?
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And then hopefully people have access to it,
Yeah. So looking at this report, well, I think PEN America did do a very good report. The PEN America PEN America doesn't always have the best history on free speech, but this was a great report on their part. I was fascinated at how much intersection there was of stories that were both queer and marginalized other communities, but also reminds us, fiction is a place where you're able to really try and bring out these other things, especially in writing, that you don't get to, the TV won't show, that movies aren't going to show, that you don't always get to, and to ban them, it is so
biographies,
hard, right?
Alex, biographies.
I know.
Listen, I go back to me being a little queer girl, okay, trying to figure out myself in the world, right? Not having my parents to talk to about this, not having somebody older that was gay that I could go to, right? I remember sitting in that aisle in the library under special interest, or it was something it was always like a weird aisle, okay, but you knew what was there. And I just remember sitting on the floor with a bunch of books around me going, oh my God, I'm not crazy. I'm not weird. I'm not as different as I think I am. There are other people out there that feel this way. And I'm not I'm not going to hell like the church keeps on telling me to.
Right.
So to not give that access to other kids breaks my freaking heart.
Well, the fact that you had the wherewithal to know, to go and look, there were places, there were resources, and now those books won't even be on the shelves.
Right. The one thing I think we also should mention with PEN America, I believe they have a Florida group. I don't know what their Florida group's been up to lately, but that is something that we have as hope down here. Is hopefully they'll take on some of the things happening in our legislature that's coming.
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. Well, look, and we're out. We're thinking about us as LGBTQ plus, right? Okay, we're banned, right? But now let's talk about BIPOC community, right? How are you restricting that knowledge?
Right.
You know what I
Why
mean?
would you
Okay,
ban that?
you have an issue with who we sleep with in bed. Okay, but what the hell does that have to do with being black? You're black no matter what, you know? So I don't get, it's just literally telling people that you could be a racist piece of shit.
It's about erasure,
Well,
for
that's
sure.
why they
for
don't
sure,
want.
yeah.
That's why they're banning it. Many white supremacist groups don't like even any mention of the word supremacist. They don't want white people to be portrayed in a negative light. And I'm like, oh, you poor baby.
My God.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Okay. And my last comment on this, how about the 10% of books that we're taking out that included disabled folks?
Again, what's the harm? Why not?
How?
Why not learn about these?
But why not teach other people to be less dicks against people who are marginalized?
Because then you humanize them and you're less likely to be able to get kids that aren't going to want to do terrible things to them. That's where these sorts of bans always come from a place of hate at the end of the
Yes,
day.
for sure.
Yeah, it really, wow. This is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing